it sheds very interesting light on those very things.
Hello and welcome to another Metaphors of Movement client session. Today we're joined by Beverly. Now, Beverly is a coach therapist and she's struggling with a bit of direction. She's struggling with a few procrastination challenges. So she decided, okay, Dale, I want to have a demonstration. Show me what this is all about. And this is what it was like. Thank you for filling out the pre-session questionnaire. So you talked about how you've been stuck with a few things. Sometimes you lack a bit of structure on the big things, the small things. Essentially, it sounds like there's a lot going on and you're a little bit stuck. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's very safe to say.
Beautiful. So let's jump straight in. So that whole thing, Beverly, what's that like?
What whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole reason you're here today, the whole reason we're doing this experience, this whole thing, what's that like?
Um, I feel like I'm at a crossroads in my life. Not a crossroads necessarily, but
Okay, you're at a crossroads. What's to your left?
what's to my left? Bookshelves.
Well, no, but you said it's like you're at a crossroads, right? Now you're
Um,
not actually at a crossroads. So it's like you're at a crossroads. What's to your left?
um, I'm not sure I understand the question.
I fully get that. I'm asking for an interesting style of information which most people aren't used to giving. So you say it's like you're at a crossroads. Now, normally when I have a crossroads, when I'm at a crossroads, there's a road to my right and a road to my left. So you said it's like you're at a crossroads. Is that fair to say?
It is, and I think that's probably an incorrect choice of words. It's not. I'm more of like in a sand pit.
Okay, so it's like you're in a sandpit. Okay, cool. What's to your left?
Just lots of unfinished projects.
So there's unfinished projects because I've got to draw this. You see, drawing a sandpit is cool. So to your left is unfinished projects. What's to your right?
Um, a nice, neat, organized shelf of completed projects.
Okay, so there's a shelf. Are we talking like a shelf on a wall or what sort of shelf?
Mhm.
Okay, so you've got a shelf of completed projects. What's in front?
Um, like a blue sky with some nice trees.
Projects. So some blue sky with some nice trees. What's behind you?
Um, a desert.
Desert. And what are you standing on?
A beach.
You're on a beach. And what's to your left?
Um, just unfinished projects.
Okay. So you say you're on a beach. Now, normally beaches are close to seas from my
Mhm.
normal experience. So is there a sea anywhere or are you just on a beach?
I guess it's probably more like a desert because I'm not seeing any water.
Okay. So you think it's a beach, but it's actually a desert.
I think I'm thinking of like a quicksand. Like my situation feels more like quicksand. Like I can kind of rise up a little bit, but then I get kind of sucked down again.
Okay, so are your feet in the sand? Like, are they coming up or are you on top of the sand?
Kind of sort of like about mid calf.
Mid cut. Okay, so we're a little bit in it. Sand. So it's a little bit, not super deep, but okay. So, but you're sunking a bit in the sand. Okay, cool. So if I've got this right, you're
Mhm.
standing there in this sand where you're sort of sinking in a little bit up to your calves. To your right is completed projects. To your left is unfinished projects. In front of you is some trees and some blue sky, and behind you is a desert.
Yes.
Question. So you said there's nice trees in front of you. What are the trees in?
Um, just like regular earth.
How far is it between the sand and the regular earth?
I don't really see a clear demarcation line. It's more of just kind of it. It's like more mirage feeling.
Ah, okay. So it could be a mirage.
I'm living in my fantasy world.
Gotta love a cheeky mirage feeling. But at least we can be honest about it, you know? How do you deal with this in real life, Beverly? In real life, how do you deal with this?
I guess I distract and avoid.
Distract and avoid. Some of my favorites as well.
They're like old friends.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, cool. So we're going to come back to that. But you also mentioned that you lack structure. That lacking structure, that whole thing of lacking structure, what's that like?
Um, I guess not having a clearly defined schedule, and that probably dials back to not
Okay,
having.
okay, okay. Beverly, that's you being logical and pragmatic about the things that you would need in order to have structure. Lacking structure, what's that like?
Um, just kind of free flowing, not
Okay,
hard.
free flowing. What's to your left?
Um, just like
Guy. Okay, what's to your right?
sky,
What's behind you?
like white clouds,
What's in front of you?
just more sky.
And what are you standing on?
I'm floating,
Floating, like just
floating,
in midair.
like in a cloud.
Are you in a cloud or are you floating?
I feel like I'm in it.
Okay, so you're in a cloud. Okay. And so is the cloud all around you? Is it engulfing you, encompassing you, or not? Or can you see out of the cloud?
I can see out of it. There's kind of like a nice bubble of
There's a
clear.
nu- there's a bubble of clear sky.
Well, where I'm sort of, it's kind
Um,
of hazy, but clear where I'm in my immediate perimeter.
So are you in a bubble?
Yes.
Ah, so you're in a bubble, and are you like if you were to describe how you are standing, you're laying down, how are you in this bubble?
Uh, I'm standing in it.
So you're standing, and what are you standing on?
Um, I don't know. It seems invisible,
Well, take a look.
like a white platform.
So it's a white platform that feels invisible. And how high up are you on this white platform?
Mm, pretty high.
So
Like,
would you say, is it like a column kind of thing? Is it like a,
yeah.
okay, you're on a column. And how high would you say it is?
Like as tall as a building, maybe.
Okay, building height. Cool. And what's up?
Just all cloud.
All clear. Okay. So you're standing on this white platform, which is like a pedestal kind of thing.
Hmm.
You're in a bubble, sky in front, sky to the left, sky to the right, and white clouds behind. Is that about right?
Hmm.
And how do you deal with this in real life?
Well, I don't know. It's not really called to my attention, so I guess I'm not sure.
Lacking structure. What do you do with that when you lack structure? How do you deal with that? Lack structure for big things, small things. How do you deal with that in real life? What do you do?
Just kind of tend to the most urgent, pressing things at the forefront of whatever needs done.
Just do the urgent stuff. Lovely. Okay, cool. Let's do one more. Do one more, and then I think we're in a very good place. So you said you're not able to get traction. Not able to get traction with things. Not able to get traction. What's that like?
It just feels like like kind of spinning my wheels, like not making any forward progress.
Okay, what's to your left?
Just a thick forest,
Cool. What's to your right?
more thick forest.
What's in front?
Kind of the trunks of the trees in this thick forest.
So how close are the trunks to you?
Maybe like 10, 15 feet.
Okay, but you don't really see the tops, you just see the trunks, so to speak.
But there's kind of light streaming through like the forest canopy.
Okay, cool, gotcha. And what's behind you?
Uh, Sort of like a pine cone, pine needle forest floor.
Okay, cool. And what you're standing on?
Uh, this nicely padded pine needle forest floor,
And what's up?
forest canopy with light streaming in.
Cool. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And how do you deal with that in real life when you feel like your wheels are spinning and you're not able to get traction? How do you deal with that in real life? What do you do?
Um, well, I work on something or I
Right.
distract or I distract with a hobby, which I have lots of hobbies.
Uh, distract. Let's just put distract.
Mhm.
Sounds like okay, cool. So essentially, you're standing here. You've got a thick forest to your right, a thick forest to your left, some tree trunks in front with some light coming through, pine needles behind, and you're standing on a pine needle floor.
Hmm.
Lovely, awesome. Now you mentioned it was like spinning wheels. Now that conjured up a mind like a bicycle or something like that. Is there anything like that here? There might not be. I'm just curious.
Um, no, not really.
Okay, cool, no problem. Beautiful. So where shall we begin? Let's start at the end and work our way backwards. If I could turn back time. Cool. So in this situation where you feel like you're not able to get traction, essentially it'll be quite difficult for you to do the right thing in this situation. Because I mean, as much as the right thing is natural, it's quite dense. There's a lot of things going on that are right. And if
Hmm.
anything, if you were to try and maneuver your way in the right direction, I mean, you find yourself getting caught up in things. And yeah, it might be a challenge to progress. Now, similarly, if you were to explore the left, it's very similar to the right thing to do. So, if anything, both the left thing and the right thing for you to do and the thing that's not right for you to do are quite difficult to go through. They're quite dense. It's quite a challenge. As I said, you might get yourself caught up on stuff. So, it'll be quite difficult to progress in those directions. Now, in the background to this, or in the background, it's very similar to the position that you're currently standing. I mean, there's a bit of natural support underneath you, and you are in quite a natural environment. Now, there is light in front of you. You do look forward to something a little bit brighter. There are a few rays of light in this situation, um, but there's trunks in the way. So it could be said what you look forward to is maybe quite strong, quite stable, quite sturdy. But also, what's in front of you grows over time and grows over many years. But you're in the middle. Now, I don't know many people that I just find in the middle of a forest. What are you doing there?
Just
Trying to see. Yeah, just what, Bev? You
taking it
doing?
off.
Taking it all in. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking it all in, taking in the environment. Nothing wrong with that at all. But where are you going?
I don't know.
I mean, I look at this person, I'm like, well, who is she? Who is this person? Oh, she's just a bit lost. Got no direction, doesn't know where she's going. Because this is the trouble, like, especially if it's like a wood that you don't know. When you're in the middle of it, like which way you go? Do you take steps in one direction? Does that lead you further into the woods? Does it lead you out of the woods? But similarly, where are you going anyway?
Hmm.
Because without a direction, it can be quite challenging to actually start to take steps. But then sometimes we actually need to start taking steps in order to find a direction.
Hmm.
But let's just imagine, Beverly, you are walking down a strange road and what's this woman standing in the middle of a forest? Thick forest to the right, thick forest to the left, trunks in front, pine needles behind. Don't you worry, dear. We know how to deal with this. Just distract. Would that be good advice?
No,
Any better advice, Beverly, for this poor unfortunate soul?
just put one foot in front of the other and pick a direction.
Update to the advice. Put one foot in front of the other, pick a direction. Let's just try that for me. Let's just try something. So just close your eyes for me, Beverly. And standing there, thick forest to the right, thick forest to the left, pine needles behind, trunks in front. Just take a step to the right and tell me what you notice.
There's just the same amount of trees.
And what happens?
The angle of the light changes a little bit.
And how does that change things?
Just it just looks slightly different.
Okay, go back to the original position and take a step to the left and tell me what you notice.
It's a little more shaded.
And what happens?
It just feels colder,
And how does that change things?
not as pleasant.
Okay, go back to the original position. Take a step back and tell me what you notice.
It looks the same, but there's a draw of moving forward, like a pull.
And what happens?
I want to take a step forward toward
And
the
how,
light.
and how does that change things?
It just makes it feel more in the works.
Hmm.
Like
Go back to the original position. And now take a step forward and tell me what you notice.
it's bright and sunny.
And what happens?
I feel like I'm in the bright beam of the light, and I need to move, but I'm kind of enjoying it right there.
Hmm. Got it. So what's interesting? So it's quite clear that if you go to the right, things do look a little bit bright, but you can't really take that many steps. And similarly, if you were exploring what's left, I mean, it gets a bit colder. Now, if you had to take a step back to get a bit bigger view of things, there's almost like a pull to go forward. But what's interesting is when you progress and you get closer to the light, you stop to enjoy it. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with enjoying stuff. But when you want to get traction, if you're enjoying every step after you take one, it's going to take a very long time.
Hmm.
Hmm. The other interesting thing is that there's light outside, which is nice. Now, I know some people look for enlightenment from the inside out as opposed to the outside in, but some people are looking for a brighter outlook. But what I can tell you about getting traction is, I mean, you may have taken the first steps, but being in this forest, it sounds like it's going to take a few more steps for you to get out of it. Because the whole idea of traction, right? If you think about it, it grabs on. And then when I think of traction, I always think of a tractor for some reason. Like just the tires, they dig in, they get the traction, and then they can push forward.
Hmm.
Whereas your challenge is you get traction, you make a movement, and then let's just enjoy that bit of traction. That was good. Good traction. But I think I understand why. Possibly. We'll find out. So this one. So in this situation, so are you actually in a bubble? I just want to confirm. Are you in a bubble?
It doesn't feel like a defined bubble. It just feels like a sphere of clarity.
A sphere of clarity. Oh, because this is quite useful. Because in this situation, I mean, you do get a good overview of things. Well, I mean, I say that. You see, you've got a good overview. You've got sky to your left, sky to your right, sky. Basically, we've got sky and clouds all around. So you've got a very elevated view of things. You're not really seeing things that are on the ground. I mean, you might have the opportunity to do that, but you're referencing what's up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much up in the air. Oh, wait, you're up in the air. A little bit up in the air, could be said.
Right.
And you got a bit of a pedestal, you know? People can look up to you from this position. They can see you. But one of the challenges, I look at this and I think this is probably a little bit of an anxious person. Because if I was on top of a column that was the size of a house, I wouldn't want to put a foot wrong. I'd come crashing down to earth. It'd be very painful. So if you were to do what's right, you'd let yourself down. Do what's left, you'd let yourself down. If you're progressing, you're going to let yourself down. Or even if you take a step back, you're going to come crashing down to earth and it's going to be quite painful. Might even be the death of you.
Could there be some perfectionistic underpinnings there?
I mean, I don't know the foundations, but possibly. But the thing is, in society, they teach us that up is good, down is bad. Like
Mm.
going up in the world, progressing, going up. And yeah, I mean, the big G man, God's up there, right? But the trouble is, in this position, you can't take steps. So before I got into like the coaching and training and stuff like that world, I mean, I worked within a recruitment company. And yeah, I worked within the learning and development function, and then I started learning neurolinguistic programming to get better. And when I started coaching people privately, it was really quite nerve-wracking for me personally, to begin with, because I'd come from this career of being successful, being able to train people effectively at recruitment, do all this stuff. I was up there. People looked up to me. I had a certain position that I'd earned and I've got. And I'm like, I stood in a very high place. But doing the other things can be a massive letdown because people no longer look up to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a very different place. Now, I wouldn't say this, and I'm like, but I look at this person, I think, who is she? Who is she? Now, I wouldn't say this, but I'm sure you can understand how some people might say, oh, this is maybe a little bit stuck up. She's not grounded and down to earth. She's too focused on maintaining her position rather than actually taking steps.
Hmm.
Because if she is to take steps, it's going to be a letdown. Tell me, business never that easy. I mean, is that a limiting belief? But it's hard work. It takes steps.
Mm-hmm.
Technology, all those little bits and bobs, like oh, a nightmare of all the things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that easy, but by actually taking steps, we have agency to move on our journey
Mm-hmm.
rather than just be stuck in a position. Uh, yeah, people may look up to us, but there can be some challenges with that. So let's just try something. Well, actually, before we do that, let's just imagine you and I walking down a strange road and we see this woman up the top of a pillar. Hello, we've seen this before. Don't you worry. Just yeah, just do the urgent stuff. Is that good advice?
Not really.
Any better advice?
Just leave. There's a
Just
cloud.
leave. Leave. Let's just try something for a moment, Bev. So just standing there on that column, sky to your left, sky to your right, clouds behind. Just sit down. Just sit down and tell me what you notice.
It's a little more grounded and comfortable.
And what happens?
things seem to relax.
And how does that change things?
I guess it just makes it easier to think about and deal with.
Hmm. And are you now on ground level or are you still on the pillar, would you say?
Ground level.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Now you've taken a sit down, it's a lot more relaxing, which is good. It sounds like you've come back down to earth. But my question would be, well, sitting down still isn't going to get you anywhere.
Hmm.
So the question is, what are you willing to stand for, Beverly? You don't have to necessarily tell me, but consider, well, what do you want to take a stand for? What do you want to stand for? Because once you decide what you want to take a stand for, you can start to take steps. Because the interesting thing, I'm going to come to all of these. So there's one thing in metaphor which your drawings lack. So if we look here, you're a little bit lost, it could be said. Can't really see the wood from the trees.
Hmm.
Here we've got sky all around in a column. So we've got there's not really that much else. And even in here, I mean, we may have unfinished projects and like completed projects here, but in the back is a desert, and in the front is almost like a mirage of trees. Now, to achieve anything in metaphor or to have like an achievable goal, we need four things. Well, five, but we'll do four. We need a direction. We need to know where we're going. We need a distance, how far away it is. We need a mode, how we get there. And we have a rate, how fast we move. Okay. So if we look here, do we have a mode and a rate? Yes, you can walk, you can take steps. Do we have a distance and a direction? Not really. There's not really okay, I'm going there. Here, I mean, direction and distance, similarly, we don't have. We do have a mode, but you're stuck up a pillar, or you were, so similarly, you can't really get anywhere. And here, I mean, we've got a few things left and right, but what I see is there's nothing that you look forward to, or what you look forward to seems nice and natural, but it might be a bit of an illusion. What I see here is somebody who doesn't really have a goal, doesn't really have a direction, doesn't really know where they want to go. Now, personally, I dislike goals. I'm not a big goal fan. I've started to learn to like goals more and more. I had a few challenges with my weight, for example, and I set myself a mini goal to do a half marathon. I'm like, I can't be this fat anymore. And then I did some work. I got there. I got closer and I did the half marathon. And then my goal shifted. I'm like, I didn't quite want to do that. I wanted another part of my fitness and health. So for me, ask me about a 5 year plan. I'm going to say go away, like, because I really struggle with that longer term goal like thinking. But having a relatively shorter term goal, or at least something to give you a bit of direction, can help. It can give you a goalpost, it can give you a milestone, it can give you something that you're working towards because then you actually know where you're going.
Hmm.
Because then you can effectively take steps. And it doesn't mean that goal can't change. These things can't morph, or you can decide something different, but it's giving you a waypoint on the journey. Any thoughts so far before we come to this last one?
Well, I think that's an interesting point that you make about goals. And I kind of have it's the same sort of thing with New Year's resolutions. And maybe it's because I'm an astrology follower, like New Year's. What is New Year's? To most people, it's January 1st. Well, goodness gracious, in the pagan wheel, there's a different New Year's.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of the same on New Year's resolutions and goals. I know what I want, broad brush, but setting okay, by X date, I'm going to do X. I have a challenge with that.
And I fully get that. And there's a way of thinking about the future. Now, I'm learning to think more about the future. I'm very good at being present, loving life in the here and now, but
Hmm.
I've struggled with the future. Now, to be successful in business, you need a good bit of both. You need to think where you'll go, and you need to have that balance. Where are you going? What's the intention you're putting out there, and where are you going? but the good reason why not to think about the future. Because if you don't do it, if you don't achieve it, you don't have to punish yourself. You don't have to be like there's no expectation. So I'm just going, Yeah, I don't have to reflect and look at myself. Makes life so much easier and a lot more convenient. So I get it. And this is where I would invite you to consider what would that look like? Like that short to midterm, whatever that is. Um, and yeah, it does for smart targets and stuff. Like, I mean, that triggered me a lot when I was at university because I really struggled with that, and I'm getting better at it. So my invitation to you in this context would be, okay, well, what actually do you want to achieve? And give yourself a little bit of time focus around it. Okay, I'm looking to do this because then you've at least got some stepping stones, as
Mhm.
opposed to, oh, the thing I've got to do, the thing I've got to do, the thing I've got to do. So let's come to this lovely, lovely diagram. So in this situation, your completed projects were right, and they are right, and they were the right thing to do. You put them in the right place. And all the unfinished projects have been left to one side. Now, the background to this is pretty barren, pretty arid. And to be fair, the background to this is something that's pretty deadly. Now, what you look forward to similarly seems like a bit of a mirage. It doesn't necessarily feel real. What you might look forward to might seem natural and seem blossoming, but when we examine it closer, there's maybe a little bit of an illusion there, and your feet are stuck in it. I can imagine taking steps in this is going to be hard work because you've got a lot of resistance from the support around you. Your understanding of this is constantly shifting, even if it's the same general concept. And there are so many different parts to your understanding. So let's just imagine we're walking down a strange road and we see this woman, feet in the sand, completed projects, uncompleted porridge, mirage, desert. Don't worry, just distract and avoid. Good advice.
No.
Any better advice?
My first inclination would be give her a hand and help her out.
Ah, so use external people to get you out of the situation.
Right. Not good.
Any advice for her?
Just keep pulling the feet out of the mud.
Oh, is it mud or is it sand?
Well, like quicksand, kind of a muddy like substance.
Does it stick onto your feet?
Yes.
Interesting. Because normally when we have like mud or like sticky stuff that sticks to us in metaphor, that represents shame. Now, it's not actually necessarily shameful that the story like so. So if I'm going to meet my wife in New York and we're going to go out in Manhattan, let's say I'm meeting her from work, I'm dressing up really nice, and I'm walking down and I fall in a manhole, covered in slime, covered in. I mean, you can imagine what New York's like, right? Covered in this filth. Now, down there, I'm disgusting, but I'm not ashamed of how I look. But when I come out of that and I go into the restaurant to see my wife having been in the sewer, that is shameful. Because shame is how other people see us. So in this situation, if you're to take steps and get out of this, people will see that. So let's just try something for a minute, Beverly. Just close your eyes. Standing there in that sand, completed projects to the left, to the right, desert behind, mirage in front. Take a step to the right and tell me what you notice.
It just feels much lighter.
And what
And
happens?
I'm able to just see things more clearly.
And how does that change things?
It's just a hopeful feeling.
Go back to the original position and take a step to your left and tell me what you notice.
It's deeper mud.
And what happens?
I quickly realize that's not the direction I want to go.
And how does that change things?
Um, just makes me much more compelled to keep moving toward the lighter side.
Go back to the original position. Take a step back and tell me what you notice.
Same thing. It feels like deeper mud.
And what happens?
Um, quickly don't go that direction.
And how does that change things?
It just solidifies the feeling of needing to keep moving in the more solid direction.
Got you. Go back to the original position and take a step forward and tell me what you notice.
It's more solid ground.
And what happens?
I'm able to get firmer footing and drag the other foot out.
And how does that change things?
It feels hopeful and forward moving.
Hmm. Are you familiar with meta programs in neurolinguistic programming at all?
Somewhat. I need a refresher on it, but I
Cool.
can't
No
recall.
worries. No worries. So you got some people who like options, and you got some people who like closure. They normally like two different polarities. Right. Now, people who like options don't like to choose. They might have lots of hobbies. They, they have lots of different things they can do. Variety is a spice of life. Variety is all they like, all they care about. They like doing lots of new different things. I personally like a lot of variety. But the trouble with too much variety is we don't actually get stuff done. We get distracted by multiple things and we don't actually make choices. So, actually, sometimes having so much variety, exploring all the other things that are left for us, that can actually sink us more into it and actually stop us from making a decision.
Mhm.
Actually, we might have more choice, but we can't actually make the choices we want to because
Mhm.
we're so focused on all the different options we have available.
Mhm.
So, any thoughts, observations, anything you would like to share about our time today? Lovely.
Well, I think it sheds very interesting light on those very things that I've I know that they're in there in my subconscious, like you shouldn't be distracting yourself with all of this. Too many choices. Keep focused.
But on what is the problem?
Right.
That's the point. You can keep focused all you like, but if you don't know, or at least have an idea of where you might like to go. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not the big one for being attached 100% to a thing unless you're really driven towards it. But yeah, but what can get you going? What can keep that? And you don't have to necessarily tell me, but that would be the consideration moving forward. It would be my invitation to you, my dear. Beautiful. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much, Beverly. It was great having you here. Let me know in a couple of weeks how it's going. I'd be intrigued to hear how things start shifting. Well, that was interesting. Sometimes what we look forward to is only a mirage. We don't know what we see in front of us. And similarly, we can just be left handling things without a direction. If you found this useful, do like, do subscribe, and as always, keep on taking steps.